wake up as a society and all of a sudden from one day to the next, everything just went down the tubes, or everything is just going so bad. Everything is subtle. Everything is tactical by the enemy. And I want to share with you this thought. See, again, it didn't happen overnight from one day to the next. It was subtle. It was a subtle sabotage, subverting, and halting of God's perpetual intention to carry on his dominion and kingdom rule on this earth. And it was demonic. It is demonic. I should say not was. It is demonic. It is deliberate. The Bible says in Hosea, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Now, the devil doesn't have wisdom, but he does have knowledge. He knows that if I can keep them away from truth, them meaning everybody, people away from the truth of the gospel. See, that's why the Bible says that he's trying to blind the mind lest they believe. He doesn't want you to believe in God, no matter who you are, whatever generation you're involved in. But the thing is, when a generation is blinded because the previous generation didn't connect with them, because they didn't want to, they felt that I can't relate to you anymore. See, we get talked out of it because they have a new set of phraseology, or they have a new rhythm, a new sound, a new music, and we think like, I can't connect with that. That is so like, that is deception. That is the trick of the enemy, trying to get you to separate yourself from what you ought to be connected to. Now listen, because what I'm trying to share with you, the meaning this has is that when God's fingerprint on a generation is absent, it leaves that generation powerless. When God's fingerprint, when God's touch, when God's hand, when God's presence, when God's power is not on any generation, it leaves that generation without the power of God. See, for you, for any generation to know about the power of God and yet you not pass it on, my friends, is criminal. And when God's fingerprint and touch and imprint, his presence, his power, and his purpose is missing in any generation, what's left are the outcries of a generation, of a generation needing healing and needing restoration, and again needing deliverance and needing freedom, not because they're a particular select group of people, but just because all humanity does. But I want you to understand this. So what can be done? I'm glad you asked the question. What can be done? We must make the connection. We must make the connection. And God tells us at the close of the Old Testament what must be done. And not only at the close of the Old Testament, but at the beginning of the Gospels, he's going to show you this principle. Are you ready? Here we go. In Malachi chapter 4, verse 5 and 6, is something powerfully revealing. And God is talking about making the connection with a new power. Okay, watch. Behold, I will send you Elijah, the prophet, before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. And he will turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the hearts of the children to the fathers, lest I come and strike the earth with a curse. Now, all of this will have meaning. Let me break it down for you before I'll read it again. Ready? Read it with me, beginning with verse 4. Ready? Read. Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. Verse 6. And he will turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the hearts of the children to their fathers, lest I come and strike the earth with a curse. Again, I submit to you biblically sound scriptural understanding. This is not just talking to biological fathers or parenthood. Although you can take that and receive it and apply it, absolutely. For example, we all have young people that we are connected to, and young people, you have adults you're connected to. But I want you to understand, this is what it's talking about. It's talking about the connection between two generations. Now, the reason why God turns the hearts of the fathers to the sons and the hearts of the sons to the fathers is because he's trying to establish the order of the kingdom, the order of his rule and dominion. And without this, you have what's called division. And the enemy tries to divide. Because if there's no connection, there's no unity. And if there's no unity, there's no blessing. In unity is the commanded blessing. So for a father or a son or a generation of adults and a generation of young people to not be unified under something greater than just music or, phraseology or technology, my friends, is a misunderstanding. That is not what separates us. What separates us is the enemy who's trying to subvert and divide God's kingdom to make it powerless. But not if we awaken, God's power will come in on the scene. Come on, somebody. You see, if God can find two generations who will work side by side in the convergence of two generations, God will find a qualified order to release his dominion in. Okay, something has to change. It's called the hearts of both generations. He will change the parents' attitudes towards their children and the children's attitudes towards their parents, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse. If this does not happen, the favor of God is not in that house. The favor of God is not in that church. The favor of God is not on that society. Listen, he's telling you it's not just about your house. It's not just about your family. It is about one generation with another generation connecting so that you can get rid of the curse, and instead of the curse, you have the blessing, the favor of God. Say the favor of God. That's why the enemy wants you separated. You go to your corner, live your way. You go to your corner, live your way. And maybe you just meet at the breakfast table, and that's not even to discuss, just to look at each other and grunt. But here again, it's not just, I use the word, I got a different translation here, because it's not only the parents, spiritual parents as well. It's the attitudes that we have had against one generation with another. There has to be a healing of generations. There has to be a healing in the house of God's generations. There's one generation despises the next, and this generation disconnects with the other. There has to be a healing. There has to be a new power. There has to be a new authority, and it's called kingdom rule in your house. Kingdom rule in the church. So why is this important? What are the elements? See, we can't do anything without the favor of God. We cannot do anything. We can build our church. We can build our life with the favor of God, or we can build our church, our life, whatever, without the favor of God. I submit to you, having the favor of God is definitely, to your benefit. The favor of God comes back to God's order. If we will build God's church, our life, like God said to build it, connected to the next generation, the favor of God will be on us and the curse will be off us.